We've seen a lot of bad for Pi Coin recently, and unfortunately I do think it is going to get worse. And so I want to show you some of the data that I'm seeing that might indicate why it could be getting worse and maybe what we should potentially be doing to kind of protect ourselves as we're going along. So stay with me. We'll be going through all of the things that have been happening recently. As many of you may know, it has not looked particularly great. It's been quite difficult. So we're going to be taking a look at the Pi chart. We'll start with that. We can see here, this has kind of been the history of Pi, a really, really nice move to the upside. And then of course, basically just been down only since then. If we look kind of what's been happening recently, we had a decent bit of a move here back in like early May, and then it came basically right back down. And now here we are at the early part of July, basically pushing all-time lows. We have had a couple wicks, one here on the 13th of June and the other one here on the 5th of April that have gone lower than where we are currently. But I do have a sneaking suspicion that we probably will end back up at this place. So if we were to put a horizontal line at where we'd be ending, probably somewhere in this range at about the 39 to 40 cent range. Is probably what is in store for us next. Again, anything can happen just based on what I'm seeing in the chart and in the data and all this type of stuff. It's looking very likely that we come back down to this level. So a lot of you might be asking, okay, well, what comes next for Pi? What happens? A lot of this type of stuff. And unfortunately, I think we don't really have a clear line ahead or a clear vision ahead of what we could actually see happening for Pi to turn this around. Now, there's a couple of different things as to why that is the case. We're going to be going over two of them. One is kind of like user sentiment, and two is going to be token unlocks. Both of these are playing a massive, massive role in the price slip that we have been seeing from Pi, in my opinion. So we're going to be taking a look at that. But also, if you are interested in trading Pi, again, maybe at this point it's looking better to short it than long it. But if you are interested in trading Pi, you can do so on BTCC. They have really, really great deposit bonuses, up to 10% bonus on first-time deposits, as well as up to $10,055 in deposit and trading bonuses. So if you are interested, potentially a good option for you as well. As I have mentioned before, there is no KYC or VPN needed. So if that's something that's interesting to you, you can go on ahead and get started trading Pi or whatever else for that matter through BTCC. Now moving back, I want to go take a look at one other thing that is pretty important, and this is going to be the data unlock table. Now, the next thing that I want to show you is it was basically like the Pi unlock table. There's massive amounts of unlocks coming for Pi this month specifically. They've actually already started, and I think that's why we can see some of the recent movements that we've seen on the Pi chart breaking below some of these current lows. So I want to show you that. What we can see here is this is the table of daily unlock amounts for the Pi tokens. You can see here anywhere between kind of $6 to $10 million a day up until the 11th of July. And then we start to kind of trickle a little bit back down further into July, being into the $3 to $5 million a day range. But this is a massive amount of money being unlocked every single day, and that is probably why we are seeing a little bit of this recent sell pressure that we have been seeing on the Pi chart, is because you can see basically we saw a little bit of a pump leading up into this unlock, and then basically since the 26th of June, it's been almost down only, breaking again through new lows. So this is definitely, I would say, a pretty strong reason as to why we are seeing this. In July 2025, there's 276 million Pi tokens are being released into circulation. So of course, this is going to naturally bring a bunch of selling pressure, particularly with the poor performance that we've seen from the Pi token recently. So this is something that I think is very important to highlight and show here that it may not be over. It may actually just be getting started. There might be much, much further to fall for the Pi token. Also, we can see here on the Google Trends in terms of like customer or like user sentiment analysis, we can see over time it was very, very low, maybe 7s, 8s, maybe peaking up to 10s here in like November. And then we see the Pi coin like TGE or whatever we want to call it, where people actually were able to start trading Pi, and we can see spikes immediately to 100 almost. And then now ever since then, it's been kind of on the downtrend here. We saw again a little bit of a spike in that May timeframe when we saw the Pi token jump, but now we're here sitting at 7. this is the numbers, kind of the average we were seeing before this spike up in February. So we are now sitting at lows that we haven't actually seen while the Pi token has actually been live. And so I think that this is really important to understand and really important to note, is you can see that the user interest follows price almost identically. If this will come back. Here we go. We can see the user interest is basically almost exactly following price. So what this means to me and what this says to me is that the Pi token itself is incredibly attention dependent. So if we start to see this user metrics or the user interest start to spike up a little bit again, like we saw back here, could be a perfect time to buy. But currently, while things are kind of bleeding away, I'm not expecting anything super positive happening for Pi in the near future, particularly given all of the token unlocks that we are seeing. And I think it's really, really important to emphasize that and understand that some coins don't really move too much in terms of like in consensus with user sentiment. They kind of do their own thing. I think you could see this probably with things like maybe Caspa, maybe ICP, maybe some of these that are going, like, obviously their prices are going to be largely dependent on social sentiment, but they're not purely dependent on social sentiment. This to me kind of indicates that Pi is almost purely dependent on social sentiment at this point in time. You can see here the top 5 countries in terms of interest by region: North Macedonia, the Maldives, Pakistan, Kosovo, and Croatia. So these are the top regions in terms of interest regarding Pi coin. So we'll have to see kind of how this adjusts over time, but right now I think a lot of this is, I don't expect to see the chart coming back anytime soon, just because, you know, we are seeing the chart basically follow sentiment, and I don't think sentiment's going to be changing, at least until we start to see better indications that we might be getting an alt season, as well as the fact that there's still so many Pi tokens to be unlocked in the month of July, and that is going to provide a pretty heavy bit of selling pressure, and that could of course unleash a wave of cascades in terms of like maybe liquidations, maybe more selling, because people who aren't paying attention to the unlocks are seeing that, you know, potentially we break through that 40 cent level. That would be pretty difficult, right? So there's a lot of different things going on here, all of them indicating that there may be some more trouble ahead for the Pi coin. And if this is something that is concerning to you, maybe you have a low leverage long, or maybe you have a high leverage long, or something like that, maybe it's something that to take a closer look at and potentially reconsider. Of course, I don't provide financial advice. You need to make your own decision there. This could be the absolute bottom. Who knows for sure? I will say that it is kind of more promising to see that the sentiment on Pi is flipping so bearish. So many people are leaving, so many people are losing interest. This is generally about the time that you do tend to see a bottom. But again, with some of the kind of economic factors that are baked in as they are, this could be, you know, of course could be a bottom, but we might still see continue further selling, leading to further bottoms until we start to see some of that economic stuff turn around, like unlocks and things like that. So I think that's really, really important to understand and should not be understated. Hopefully you did find the information in this video useful. If you did, of course, a like and a subscribe always helps. And if you are finding the information valuable, I would recommend it, because I do provide daily uploads and whatnot. So also, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything like that, just drop those in the comment section below, as well as I've been wearing football jerseys over the past several days. Bonus points to anybody who can recognize this jersey here in the comment section. So thanks for tuning in, everybody, and we'll see you in the next one.